words can have all sorts of meanings and context to what the words mean. And they can mean different things to different people, words. And it's important for me to tell you before I begin this video, to tell you that I know we all take words and form images, pictures in our minds, and we judge based on what we are forming in our minds from the words. But what one person sees in a word and another person could be entirely different. Like, for example, I'm trying to learn French. I had to move from British Columbia to Quebec. By the way, pardon my slow speech at times. I had a stroke in 2021, and occasionally I get things that act up in my body, so that's why, if you had another idea of why I talk slow sometimes, that would be based upon your experiences. You see how it works? We can only judge based on our own experiences. And I'm asking you to come into this video or my living room and come with an open mind, or go, because I don't need anybody in my living room to gaslight my reality with theirs. You know what I mean? Like, I know you have your own story and your own life and your own education. And we have been educated differently, as much as our languages are different, our education is different. And it's no small wonder we are divided as a humanity and a civilization. So before I begin, I want to tell you that when I was teaching life skills at Klein and Associates in downtown Vancouver in the United Kingdom building, I taught that if you handwrite from your hands, something, and I was talking about goal setting, right? Like, when I was teaching goal setting, I said handwrite your goals, because there is something to your hand and your brain. that seals the deal, that will help you focus on what you want. And I want you, anyone watching, to get what you want out of life. And that's my intention. I've always been like this, where I could be on my death's door and I want to help others. You know, as soon as I'm out of pain, which I've been in a lot of, as soon as I'm out of, because I'm in heart failure, if you don't know, and I have rheumatoid arthritis and osteoporosis and a mild form of multiple sclerosis. I'm partially deaf. My face feels numb, and I've been told I have heart failure, and I know I have pneumonia as of a week ago, because I've had pneumonia every year since I was 13. And I've always been kind of rather weak and chronically fatigued. I just didn't know why. So what I am going to share with you is so exciting that I can just say the big picture. I don't have to get into the details, which suits me just fine. I'm too tired to get into nitty-gritty details. So what I'll do is tell you the big picture, and then you can go in and find the details of your own story, your own dream, and how it fits into the global scheme of things, how you fit in. Because I am no different than you, even though I remember probably a dozen of my past lives. Now, that's only a dozen out of probably thousands, right? Other lives were the mundane, come to just live lives, didn't come for any role of any significance. But 12 of them I did. And so did you, right? Like, I don't know how many you did. But if you think about how many historical figures we have in our history books, like, I'm not claiming I'm all of them. Like, somebody else is them, because nobody dies. And so who was Caesar? I see Donald Trump. You know, it can be fun if you allow it. But if you're rigid and hardened, then you have your opinion, and that's final. And so maybe more information just will never get inside of you again. Um, so about the handwriting, Anthony handwrites in cursive to me. And I love cursive handwriting. It goes hand in hand with my past lives. You know, Mary, Queen of Scots, being one of them. And the fact that Anthony is in Wales really is another dot that the fact that he even wrote me, like, it's weird. Like, it's not weird. Like, don't take that out of context. It's part of my story, okay? And what I'm going to ask Anthony is, maybe we could become pen pals. I don't have a return address. So that means Anthony would have to write me again with his address. And then if he wanted, I would love to handwrite back and use my brain in that way, right? I would love the opportunity to practice communicating with my cursive handwriting. And for anybody listening in, that's an idea for you. See, I'll give you the big picture, and then you go on and do whatever you do, whatever you want to do. But for me, in my big picture world, it is about trusting everything, and that it is a divine life. And nothing is a mistake. And we are intelligent beings who come for about 100 years, I think we're supposed to play with human senses and evolve them. And you know, that guy Aristotle, that Greek, whoever that guy is really dumb. The Greek philosopher talks about 5 senses, right? Just what's in front of him. So he's judging just what's in front of him. Sight, sounds, scent, taste, and touch. Well, boring. That's a Barbie doll or a Ken doll. And if you think like that, it is. Whatever we think is. And so when we have teachers who don't think beyond, then we will never think beyond our teachers. So what would be better in my mind is if I gave out the big picture on how to connect dots. And it's real easy and real fast. And I can do it in this video if you're still listening and you're not out playing recess already. I will teach you a couple of methods for you to practice on your own. And you can do it as often or as little as you want. It depends on how much you want to see. Because what dot connecting teaches is how to see patterns. Patterns, common denominators, and pull the truth out with dot connecting. So what happened is, in 1968, they removed dot connecting. Later, they removed, the next generation, they removed fractions and common denominators, which are really exciting. I remember as a child really enjoying fractions, really enjoying dot connecting, and really enjoying multiple choice because I got them all right all the time. And the reason why is I can see patterns, and it's better for my brain to come up with the answer than to be given the answer and just memorize it, right? Like, if I'm just given the answer and I have to study just to remember, because I didn't come up with the answer myself. You see, coming up with the answer myself ingrains it in me, and I don't forget. And it's useful. If you want the truth, it's useful to be able to pull everything together and see the big picture. That's what CEOs do. CEOs are often uneducated. Like, really, the best ones are uneducated because they do their own thing. And they are obviously successful if they are a CEO. And you can't have that unless you're able to have empathy and compassion for your client or customer. Like, if you just start a business to make money, that is artificial intelligence. That's not taking a passion and wanting to share it. It's just paying money for a title or a lab coat. The image, you see, it's the image. Letters behind your name. Image. So we formed an artificial fake intelligence that really isn't intelligent because it can't sense. It doesn't have a sense to see emotional intelligence, or emotional intelligence shorts out artificial intelligence. Poof, goes crazy. AI goes, people go crazy around me. They just shut right up because they don't know what to do with this data I'm sharing. It's not in their program, and they've never heard it before, but it sounds right. It feels right. It feels intuitively like you want to know more. So go with that. Trust your feelings and your gut over every other sense, which is just image. We have many other senses too that could heal our bodies, like the sense of body temperature. You can change your own body temperature using your imagination. You can change your blood pressure using your imagination. These are senses, and you are as intelligent as I am, and you have had famous last lives as well as mundane lives. So if you got a mundane life this time, it's because you wanted one. You wanted a break. This is hard. This is freaking hard to suffer the way I suffer in these 12 lives I remember. But what we are promised, and we do get when we are born, is clean hands. And this brings me back to consciousness and clean hands. When we're born, we are born without the memory of our past life, the one we lived just before. And like right away we're reincarnated, unless we choose not to. And then we can roam the earth until we decide, because we're not going home. We're not waking up to our dream of heaven until we have the consciousness to do so. So you can't get there until your consciousness is there in heaven. And I am in this French parlor in my Quebec province of Canada. Now, the part I want to tell you right away is how, here's a practice. Here's something you can really use, something you can practice at home. It's not homework, it's fun work, okay? It's all emotional intelligence work is fun work because it's who you are. Okay, so let's do the dot connecting on math. 2468. Who do we appreciate? Red Sox, yeah. That is all the cheerleaders would do. I don't even know if they get that far anymore in jumping numbers. So jumping numbers is really good exercise. Look at this. Listen to this. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 46, 48. You can do it all the way up, all the way really quickly without thinking. It's so fast. Or this one. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100. This is in a couple of seconds I got to 100. I was able to skip by going in fives. Is making any sense? I know that when you're first hearing something, it can take a while to register. But for me, when I was in school learning algebra, it would never register with me. It's just nonsense, I said. I can't do this algebra, and I can't see a future for me using it. And so my consciousness was rejecting it. Anyway, we will only learn what we want to learn. Trust me, you're only going to pick up what you want. And you are enough the way you are. I know you think you have to change and you have to learn and be someone else, but you don't. You don't have to be someone else. You are enough. You could be an asshole. And you are, my landlord is such an asshole. Oh, makes me live with rats, and I had to take him to the housing authority. Is just ignorant, without empathy, because his ego, his image of me is so bad that he thinks I'm a loser. It's what he saw when I first got here with just 2 suitcases and donated furniture. But I had the ability to pay my rent. And I'm lucky in Quebec they have civil law about renting and leasing. It's a lot like owning, really. You have to bring in your own appliances and curtains, but you don't have to pay a security deposit. So that made life easy for me to move in. I didn't have a security deposit. I had a pension, my Canadian disability pension, because I wasn't even 65. I was 60, homeless. I lived my whole life in British Columbia, and I was uprooted and taken by Greyhound here. And it's like I was transported into 1970 because they just don't have the mainstream stores I am used to in British Columbia. It's a completely different world and language, and the confusion I was in. I mean, can you imagine? You just wake up and your whole old world is gone. And I'm sharing this in case it happens to you. You know, that I am a teacher after all. And I love sharing good news because at the end of this, if you can open up your consciousness the way I've been blessed, and I had help, right? So now I want to help you. I had help. Now I want to help you. It's not that I'm better or special, okay? Honest. That's not the way I think. Anyway, yeah, maybe I'll find out I am special. Who knows? I just can be me, right? And I know my whole life I've been off-putting to people because I'm in this life I'm in direct contradiction to everything going on because I'm here as a witness. I'm bringing testimony. And that is clear because that's all I seem to be doing. You can figure out who you are by what the hell you're doing. And what I do is review everything. On Google, I review. I was a mystery shopper. I was an employment specialist in checking references. And I've been observing behavior from the rich, and I've been in the rich realm here, very rich, to very, very poor. And in those circles, like I've met actors, I know I could name drop. That's not who I am. But except I'm going to tell you who I was. That's funny, name drop, and I say I'm Mary, Queen of Scots. But it gets worse. I'm going to tell you again who I remember. I'll just tell you a handful. If you didn't see the other video. And then they're historical, all of them are, remember, historical figures that you know because they're in our history books. But remember, it's only a handful of names, and there are millions. So, and since none of us die ever, odds are you're one of these other characters. But you can't be me. If you can be me, then step up and tell me how you're me. And, you don't just say I'm, you can't just announce, hey, I was Caesar or I'm Cleopatra. You can't do that because it's just the face of things. You've got to bring it together and see and feel the similarities, for Christ's sake. Sucks. It sucks in my 12 that I remember, because in my 12, I keep losing my son. Dead before me. It's the same garbage. One way or another, I lose my son. That is the emotional theme. Talk about Jesus and Mary, right? And then you don't know this, but Mary was beheaded after that crucifixion because he was conscious of patterns and common denominators. You know, they had different words and different ways of presenting, but at the bottom, it's the same. Do you see? Common denominator. Yeah, so Mary was beheaded, and remember, I probably had 1,000 other lives in between. You see, but then along came the one that I was conscious to, I am conscious to, is the Mary, Queen of Scots. Now, I don't remember. I have clean hands. I remember, there's nothing written that Mary ever wrote that she was Mary, mother of Jesus, and she was beheaded, because she didn't remember. I didn't remember. We get clean hands. And this time I chose to take us to the castle. So we went as King James and Queen Mary. And we come with an intention, you know, because we still want the message out about hardened hearts and clean hands, right? It's a big one in the Bible. In the scriptures that were written 300 years later, Constantine, after Jesus' death, he refused to allow this book of Thomas in the scripture, the gospel, because it gave too much hope. I mean, what are you going to worry about when you know your life is planned and mapped out and you're not going to die unless it's your time? I mean, trust me, my ego wanted to die so many times. But if it's not in my plan, the Spirit will not let me. And so be aware of your life now, right? The more you're aware of yourself now, the more you can connect to famous past lives, if that's what you want to do. So there was Mary, and then there's the East Indian woman. And I imagine the reason why I ended up in East India with twin boys one was brown and one was black. It's really weird. I know I have that in I see it. And I didn't know you could be black and white, right? And I thought black people are black people, white people are white people all the time. But that's not true. The skin goes dark. Skin is an organ, like your kidneys or your heart or your lung. Your skin is an organ that takes in oxygen or garbage or whatever, you know. But if your thoughts or your feelings and behavior are dark, demonic even, or hidden, when you cross over, your own consciousness will go dark because you can't bear to look at how you behaved in ego. Your spirit is nothing like your ego. Your spirit is way better. It's Christ, right? Same as Christ. And we're back in that realm of Christ, looking at our behavior on earth. And let me tell you, it is crushing to see the unconsciousness of my own. And so I can imagine that Queen Mary saw crushing things, and her consciousness went dark. And if mother's consciousness goes dark, so does baby. And you end up in a place that would be removed from your old house. But even if you're dark, you can look down at the palm of your hand and see it's white. You're white. You are white. I know you woke up and thought, why am I black or brown? I don't know. It's some reason your consciousness saw something in you and you went dark. And worse, you can go blacker. Even though you came with clean hands, you can be sorely influenced by your environment. And if you don't have, Christ or the will or the desire to be a good person, your clean hands soon get dirty. And you'll go darker the next. Shades of gray, it's shades of black. But I'll remind you that you can come back to white if you have those white palms. All you need to be back at white is a clean conscience. you know, like you've tidied up your business here emotionally. You haven't destroyed people. And if you did, you rebuke it. And you do everything you can to reverse anything you don't want to be. And you bring forward everything you do want to be. And you're not afraid to express who you want to be. You're taking on your role now. You're not ashamed of being you. They'll sure try. Oh, I gotta tell you some more. So I guess that's why that life in East India, she had twin boys because in the plan, they would need support. So they increased. And Jesus had a brother. And then the next life I remember, and there was probably 1,000 in between. In fact, I know there was, because there's a connection with me and the 1700s coming to America, is that King James and Mary were also Gladys Love and Elvis Presley. Yes, you were right. He is the king. And he crossed over in 1977 when he was 42. There's no way he was going to be able to be an Idol star here. It's just no. And he was falling apart. I won't get into what happened to me in this video, but I know exactly how Gladys Love died, and it wasn't how the reports say. She died in, I think, 1958 because she didn't like the direction that her son was going. I didn't. Then I was born September 11th, 1959, at Lions Gate Hospital in North Vancouver. Cheryl Ann Grows Close. So it's a mundane role and a very high spirit, roaming the earth. So in case you're wondering, who you were, it will all be a theme of some sort. But if you're mundane life, that's what you ordered. You needed a rest. Or you could be waiting for the event because your stardom in this simulation may not be beginning until your old age or until the reset. You don't know. I have had to become like fluid. I just exist, and I keep searching. And if I'm going down a wrong alley or maze, I come upon an obstacle, I immediately know that can't be right. There should be no obstacles. Everything should be easy. And if it is not easy, I become like fluid. And sorry, I had to cough. At least I'm coughing less. I am sitting up and I'm not in my bed. That is the greatest news. I made my homemade medicine from my, I don't know, it came from, I trust my senses, and I watched a video on how to make your own antibiotic. So I've already done a video on that, so it's out there. But this time it turned out so clear and so pure. It feels like the pneumonia is being knocked right out of me. And of course, I use the natural plant oil that I talk about. And I smoke tobacco leaves, which is, for centuries we have done that. But anything good is hidden here, right? And they're hardening hearts. The power needs you to have a hardened heart so that you keep coming back black. You're easier to control black. So the more they can harden your heart with fear or division in the family, or division in language and education and trafficking, really, of humans, and using the media to demonize one whole group of people over another, and going along with that program pretty much guarantees everybody's coming back black next time. That was my fear when I first came upon my consciousness. I did not want to face that. It is much more difficult to go from black to white when you are in such a controlled slavery prison. To stay good, to stay light, you stay dark, and often get darker and darker. And that's just from my dreams and visions and feelings, my sensories. We don't know if I'm right or wrong. Who knows? But you can discover yourself. And I prefer that because it's just too much responsibility for me to take on everybody, because we're all the same. And I just wanted to remind everybody about Matthew, the book of Matthew in King James, when, the Jews were saying that you have to have clean hands by washing them all the time, right? And having everything kosher. Like they took it literally. And that was a mistake. Kissing walls, doing rituals, washing hands, bringing it to other gods in white or black coats to cleanse is useless, according to King James Version of the scripture. What Jesus said was, well, not exactly. Not quite. What goes in the mouth comes out the draught, the ass. And what is more important is the hardening of the heart, especially in reinforcing rules that make no sense. And anybody can make up a rule or a law, and anyone can be forced into believing it or groomed into believing it. But if you don't have the sense for yourself, the common sense of Christ, then you're owned. And it's the saddest thing in the world. And that's why, I don't really know what's going to happen next. I just know there's not going to be a population. You can't have a civilization like this in dark shadows. It's not the intention of earth, and God created the earth. Our Creator. If it's not beautiful, if it's not got the feeling of heaven, like, when you go for a picnic by a waterfall in a mountain with snow-capped tops, like the beauty and wonder that we all see must be felt, must be appreciated, with love. And if it's not, then it is abused. And then that consciousness is seen by us when we cross over, and we ourselves become dark shadows of our former self. This is Nana Marie or Cheryl Ann or whoever you want in Quebec City. Love to everybody. Thanks for listening.